Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, and as you can see, we're all rushing all over the place. Just got through looking at a lot of new stuff. I mean, the big thing was the whole issue with the Supreme Court selection. That's gone, if you will. But in all due respect, we'll probably do something on that in regards to its impact on Oregon. And we'll do that at another point in time. But at this particular case, this point in time here now, we want to make sure we cover some of our own election situations that we're having here in the state of Oregon. And so we're going to be doing things on the measures, and we're going to be doing things on the candidates. Maybe if we get the candidates here, if we don't get the candidates here, we're going to talk to them about it, whether the person running for Congress or whether it be a person running for governorship or this, that, and the other. Well, you know, we're going to do what we have to do, and it's very, very important. And in fact, I'm going to start off this particular show with some folks that I've known, and we just recently got off the campaign trail, and that's Maria right here, who's right on my right and on your left on the screen, and then her dear friend, another friend of mine who was on here last week, and he did such a good job. We thought we'd bring it back because we did the culture we talked about culture as it relates to Mexicans. You know, we're just Mexicans, and I thought that was a good show. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you haven't, just go back to the archives under YouTube, and you can you can look at that particular show. But this particular show, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about ballot measure 105, and basically what it says, the following measure will read as repeals laws limiting use of state or local law enforcement resources to enforce federal immigration laws. Now there are two issues in there. The results of a yes vote repeals law limiting, with exceptions, the use of state or local law enforcement resources for detecting or apprehending persons suspected only of violating federal immigration laws. You've heard of the ISIS situation or whatever, but we can get back into that. And then the results of a no vote retains law limiting, with exceptions, use of state or law enforcement resources for detecting or apprehending persons suspected only of violating federal immigration laws. Okay, and there was a poll that was taken by the Hoffman Research Group. It says if the general election were held today, would you vote to yes or vote to support the measure, or no to oppose the ballot measure? And the way the results were, 31% says yes, support measure, 50% said no, opposes the measure, 19% undecided, option not given initially. Okay, and when considering your political views, would you say you align more as a conservative, a moderate, or a liberal? 32% conservative, 33% moderate, 31% liberal, 4% undecided, option not given initially. And again, we want to talk to this issue because the largest city in the state of Oregon is here in Portland, and the largest county happens to be here also in the Portland area. And I always looked at it as if this is the living room, if you will, of the state of Oregon from other individuals coming here. And we are definitely a diverse society here. We got many, many issues. And I might add, too, that many politicians don't like to identify with this area. They want to come over here. They tend not to even want to get interviewed by myself. But the fact of the matter is, if there's anything to say about this particular measure, it really has an impact here in the Portland metropolitan area. And that's why I've got Maria here. She just recently ran for County District Number 2, Multnomah County. And when you start thinking about District Number 2 in Multnomah County, the city of Portland is in all due respect, the majority of the city of Portland is in District Number 2, more District Number 2. And so I thought that was a very interesting piece. So that's why I've got Maria here. And then I've got another individual who's here who will probably maybe respond. And we'll call him a guest, and he can respond in terms of how he feels. And we just got another guest in the house, one of my other dear friends, my poet.
Eduardo.
That's my poet. That's my poet guy. That's the poet guy. We're going to probably make some points about that over too. And I didn't bring his book with him, but he may have his book with him. We might want to share that with you too, also too. But in all due respect, can we get another chair up here? Can we do that, Mike? Is that okay with you? Can we get another chair? Okay, come on, bring your chair. This is community television. Come on. You want everybody? You want to get him on that end? Get him on this end? Get over here. How you want it? Which end you want it, Mike? Over here or on this other end? Over on this other end? Okay, good. Get on the other end. Okay, right. Okay, good. Okay, good.
I don't want to show my butt in there.
Yeah. Get close to him that way. Get close that way. Get close that way. You might have recognized him. If you haven't, like I said, go to the archives of YouTube, Oregon Voters Digest, and you'll see this gentleman. All right. Yeah, you're looking well.
Thank you.
How you doing? Good. He got here. It's so wet out there right now. I mean, we're getting right in that winter aspect of it. But again, like I said, what we're going to be talking about is 105. It's going to be talking about 105, and in all due respect, the culture that's impacted quite a bit should be able to talk about this issue, and that's why I've invited these folks here that are sitting around here, and it's going to be their time. So in all due respect, because I've told Maria that she's going to be sitting in this seat here in future. So I've said my part. So I'm just going to kind of give it over to her, and then she's going to introduce the guests, and she's going to talk about this issue, and then we'll have that discussion. And every so often I'll inject. Is that okay?
All right, sounds good.
Maria.
Thank you.
Okay, Maria.
Hola, buenas tardes. I'm Maria Garcia. I'm a local business owner. I run for Multnomah County Commissioner District 2 last year, this year, right?
Yep.
And I am a community advocate. So I invited people really close to me and heavily involved in this issue because we are immigrants and our voice matter. And I would like us as a community to start having these conversations about the importance of immigrants, especially here in Portland because it's where we live, right? I have Emmanuel Zihalpopoca and Eduardo Corona as my guest. So let's start talking about Measure 105, right? But before that, I would like to start talking about the Bracero program, right?
Bracero, okay.
Because that was a 22 years long program, right? And it contracted about 5 million braceros in the 24 states of this country, right? So after the Bracero program ended, we see these new waves of immigration coming to this country, right? Finding new routes, ways to work, the increase of coyotes or smugglers start pretty much around that time. I mean, that had always existed, but not in the numbers that we see it now. And that was because the Bracero was giving these legal permits, right, for to satisfy the shortage of agricultural workers in the United States. So under this program, the Braceros supposed to get a benefit of a decent living wage, right? They're supposed to have a safe place of work, safe roof over their head, and all the benefits that were told them that they will get. Reality is that it didn't go that well, right? So they start coming, more immigrants start coming to this country after the Bracero program ended. But then we can start talking about the importance of immigrants coming, at least as Mexicans, is how we can talk about this, right? Because obviously our heart is there, our families are there, but we are here. So can you tell us, Eduardo, a little bit more about after the Bracero program? How do we end up here?
Yeah, well, how we all end here.
Yeah.
And you touch a very dramatic, very important point. People were here because it was needed. So there is a market, a labor market, open for the people. And this market is not provided, is not satisfied by the government programs. So what's happening when the Bracero program ended? The business owners need workforce, not available because the government is not facilitating, the economic development. the economic activity or the labor activity. So what happened? Well, still they're hiring people, and the people knows, because we are talking with our people in Mexico, with our families, and you know what? You can come and you're gonna be hired right away. Papers, who cares? And that's why. So government is not working as a facilitator for this activity, for the labor. It's not providing enough laborers to the labor market. That's number one thing, and that's why we are here. If the works or the jobs are in Australia, I bet you we are in Australia, and that's happening. Now the immigrants, Latino immigrants, are in Australia, they're in New Zealand, they're in Spain, because the work market is there, the job market. So this is the first thing. We are needed here because we are working. Now the immigrant economy is providing to the Oregon State immigrant with permits to stay here or without permits to stay here. But all of us, as a group, are providing $8 billion in purchase power to the state.
Oregon.
For a year.
Oregon, okay.
In Oregon. And the Oregon budget is $22 billion. So 1/3 of the Oregon's economy is moved by the immigrants. What happened when these laws is going to happen? Usually, the people have a driver's license here without a social security. So people come here freely and get a driver's license. And when other states get tougher laws on that, people started to come here. When here was canceled, people started to fly to Texas, California. Now they're coming back to California and to Washington, and they're providing now the labor force down there, those states. What's going to happen if sanitary law is going to be canceled here in the state? Well, the police is going to distract their resources to prosecute people, workers. They're criminalizing workers. They're criminalizing workers. They're criminalizing work, job. And that's happening in Europe. Same thing with the African communities. The new capitalism or the neoliberalism is punishing workers for work. And the police is gonna just pursue people trying to give better for their families and for their community, and 1/3 of the economy in Oregon. Because in one immigrant house, you can have a citizen, you can have legal permanent green card holder, the permanent, and you can have also people with a temporary visa and people without visas. So in just one family, you can see all those cases. So if you crush one of these people, you're crushing the whole family. And what we are trying to do is to have our families together as any other community. So what's happening with the 105? 105 for me, from my perspective as an immigrant, generating business and economy and jobs is crushing one community, productive and thriving community, and criminalizing the worker. Because there is a lot of other things to do. What about a gun control? There's a lot more people killed by the guns in the hands of irresponsible or probably sick people than one person just working and I don't know, cleaning houses, cleaning 75 houses a week.
Let me ask you a couple just let me throw this out. Now I remember in Oregon, Rocky Barilla was a legislator. In fact, that's how he became a legislator as a result of this issue. But when it was brought to the table in the legislature in 1977, meaning the farmers were having problems from the standpoint of picking up their crop. And so the name of the game is that, okay, so the Becerra and Chavez was very much involved during that particular time, because I knew him. I was in the newspaper business. And he basically was kind of like looking at the housing situation and the making sure that they were getting paid responsibly, whatever, working with the unions. But anyway, that was one aspect of it. But what I noticed at that time, the farmers were saying, we want to, the issue came up, and the farmers were saying, well, look, we want to keep these folks here. And so then Rocky got involved in the issue, And then I'm just going quickly, I mean, but you can look this up as far as the history of the deal. And then what happened was that when Rocky got involved, the idea is that because it was Mexicans and whatever, and then that whole transition, he got elected to the legislature. And they came up with some rules and some regs, i.e., to keep the labor force here. And what's interesting about it is that only 2 people voted against it in the legislature. And, you know, but my point is this whole issue of immigration and illegality and all that other good stuff was there. But it was kind of like, let's pass this through the legislature. They did pass it through the legislature. And then all of a sudden, now here we are today. I mean, it's been around for some 30 some odd years, right? I mean, about 30 years or so, yeah. But it's been around here for quite some time. So, but the bottom, since 77, since 77. But the idea is that it's been here that long, and now all of a sudden it is an issue. You know,
but I believe it has always been an issue.
Okay.
Profiling, separation of families, abuse in general towards the immigrant communities has always been an issue. That is recognized now is a different, topic. But I believe that it is important to continue having the sanctuary status in paper, right?
Okay.
Because if there's the removal of the status of this status, pretty much is going to be a legal permission, right, for profiling, right, for more deportations, because legally it will be accepted. It is happening, and in spite of being a sanctuary state, we still have deportations. We have police working with immigration, sheriff working with immigration. I know that because we know our people and we know the stories. So it is happening, right? So the way I see it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if this measure passes, it will be just a legal authorization for profiling in, deportation.
Yeah, actually, you say that when this bill became a law, it was because of profiling of the sheriff in Independence. They were profiling Mexican American people, and that's why they were complaining, and that's become a law, a sanctuary state, for having the police getting in their work, keep doing their job, keep protecting the communities, keep pursuing the crime. But the workers are not criminals.
Yeah, and talking about the police department, they have so many issues, to deal with. All the killing of, our brothers. Recently they kill, a black man downtown. They have a lot of issues within their own body, right? And to take more, an overload of work, with that topic that really,
An encouragement to profile the community.
Exactly,
because they
that's
can
wrong.
stop me just because of my color.
Well, I'll tell you what, we got a clip. And my point is that the divide in law enforcement. We got law enforcement that are for 105s and law enforcement that are basically they're saying, let's keep the sanctuary status the way it is. We got a clip. Mike, can you play that clip real quick, Mike? This is, and I'm pointing to this is people here within the Multnomah County area aspect of it, and we're going to play that clip.
Trust is the foundation that allows public safety professionals like our police officers and our deputy
That's our
sheriffs
present
to
sheriff.
keep our communities
Sheriff
safe.
Reese.
Measure 105 undermines our ability to keep our communities safe, discouraging people from calling the police when they see a crime, discouraging people from being witnesses.
We want to live in a community where victims of crime feel comfortable in reaching out to us. If Measure 105 passes, it would dramatically interfere with our ability to do our job.
Current law helps create bright lines for local law enforcement. Communities that we serve know that we're focused on protecting and serving them. We're not worried about their immigration issues.
It will only take resources away from public safety.
What do we stand for as a community? What do we stand for as citizens of the state of Oregon?
It's not justice for some, it's justice for all.
It doesn't reflect the values that we have as local law enforcement, public safety professionals, or as Oregonians.
That's funny.
I just wanted to share that piece. I think it's a very interesting piece because I mean, from the folks who are just looking, the issue is between the federal government and then the state, and then these are folks that are saying responding to that particular issue.
But you know what, Bruce?
Yeah,
it's funny about we just had this clip and such, and this is not a. First of all, when we talk about Measure 105. It wasn't given to them just because people felt pity, like, oh, we feel bad for these good people, you just give it to them,
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do it like, oh, it's going to benefit them. They did it because people were actually fighting against that. You're putting their foot down and say, this is what we want, and we no longer are going to take it no more. And that's when people are pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing to get that done. That's when this became the law. As many things today and stuff, people are pushing and pushing and pushing to make it a law. Now, when I say it was made a law in this history and such, right? And they say history makes our future. But again, we cannot compare today's issues with 30, 40 years ago because it's the same problem. But today's problems are more modern, more different factors, more variables and such. And so at a point, we can't be just like, oh, let's go back. Because there's so many things that are brand new to us that was never there. Technology was never there like it is today and such. Finding all the information about somebody it wasn't there like it is today. When I say when Eduardo was talking about making all this become the people, Measure 105 is again for people, workers and such. And I don't say this as a citizen, like a civilian here, but I say this as a person that works in the construction industry and is out there in the field. And you audience out there that own businesses or know people that own businesses, you can ask them or ask yourself, who are you going to hire and make better productions? And not just Mexicans. In general, it's immigrants. And people say for jokes and fun, like, I'm going to hire some immigrants because they do it faster and cheaper. But the reality is that they know what's going on and such. They'll do it better, faster. That's the reality and such. When it comes to other people, I'm not trying to swear that all white men are lazy because they're not. I mean, I'm not here to judge nobody and stuff. I know real ones that, go harder than me and such, and I look up to them. But not being a construction worker stuff, I work making buildings, and I see all these buildings, and people say just work and do, and don't ask any questions. But all these buildings are being made for who? For people that are coming from overseas, other states, immigrants that are working here, right? I work with Nike. I worked on Intel, and Intel, big corporations, they pay people for them to live here. They can come from India, they can come from Dubai, they can come from Afghanistan. They pay them to work here. They give them that money. Okay, you work for us, but here's your apartment. And those brand new apartments are supposed to be built right now where they live. Now, say Sanctuary, the Measure 105 goes away, and they come here to this country obviously with legal status. But eventually, it's gonna. You put your people in these people's shoes and stuff. You got a good paying job. You're doing good. You know the manager, the owner there. You're doing productivity in the company. That's what they want. That's why they're hiring these people to keep productivity. So now their visa expires and such, and they don't want to go because if they go to their country, it's basically starting from number 0. So now they're here and stuff illegally. And when people call us undocumented people, undocumented citizens or immigrants, in reality we're not undocumented. We've never been undocumented. We always come with a kid. I came from here at 5 years old and stuff, no legal paperwork, and went to school, and then they call me documented. Like, no, the school knows there's nowhere I live. They know my shots, they know where I came from. No, I'm documented, just a title that they put on me. Now, not just for us Mexican, but everybody here. They put us undocumented. No, they know how much money we earn. They know our taxes, they know everything. So we're not undocumented.
Yeah. And going back to the, thank you, to what he's talking about. Yes, we're documented, right? Even if you're undocumented, good. Right? Because when it comes about paying taxes, right? Even the IRS issues an IT number, right? So you have to come up with some documents that identifies yourself, right? You open an account, and then they give you this number, and then you can do a lot of things with it. You pay taxes, you can probably open a bank account, you pay taxes. And when you are getting your immigration paperwork right? You're getting your permit and you're going through the process. They even ask you if you worked before and you pay taxes, because that's a point on your side, right? It's on your favor. So in the immigrant community, there's always this talk, oh, you have to get your 18 number and make sure you pay your taxes when you get your papers, you know, it will be on your side. So why do they insult us like this? So they don't want us here, right? But they
allowed it.
allow us to be here. So our money is good because it's green, as you know, as is yours, and you know, it's the same money. The way we get the money is different, probably, right? We do different things, but immigrants, we do all the work that, you know, many Americans don't want to, you know, do, and we know that, and pretty much is the triple D jobs, right? The duty, dangerous, and dual, right?
But
jobs.
those are not just the jobs.
But many many jobs that Americans don't want to do. So immigrants are in the cushion. You know, we're the cushion of American society because we do all these jobs. And I'm a business owner, you know, and I can say I'm not in the bottom, but I have worked in different industries. I work my way up, right? But we are the bottom of American society. So Americans have other opportunities that we don't have. We are not equal here. You know, immigrants and Americans, we are not in the same level. We are really hard workers, you know, but we don't have access to education. We don't have access to health services, right? That's an issue.
Even some tax credits. So there is an interesting figure. Probably they're trying to confirm this figure, and they're talking about $700 billion on benefits, tax benefits, not returned to the undocumented people, the people working with ITINs. So that's a huge money, and in this environment, we have to say this. America is coming back to the racist status. They're legalizing the racism. The 105 is legalizing the racism again, and we cannot allow that.
What if I were to ask a question from the standpoint, like I said, we're voting here now. A lot of folks are saying, well, they've never asked, what do you feel is the solution to the problem? What do you think the solution to this problem would be in terms of recognizing Mexicans?
The solution to the program, to the problem.
You know what I'm saying? They got this situation about the illegal, that whole illegal this, that, and the other. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, my point is that their solution is, okay, fine, we need to pass this bill. Okay.
So they can be out.
Right. So
Yeah,
what do you see as a solution?
10 years ago, they were working on immigration reform, but everything just jumped back. The thing is having a background check to all the workers, and that includes taxes and criminal history, and at the same time providing to the community a voluntary job. Even we are not committing any crime, but the people just pursuing the status can provide voluntary job to the community, and it's a couple 100 million hours that can provide to the community and very good work in construction, healthcare, and high tech, in restaurants and the fields. So having working a holistic solution that brings all together and it's gonna be good for American workers too, because now pushing back the market, and this is something happening in Oregon. I think the unemployment rate is 4%, is less than is the lowest in 19 years, I think. But the jobs is not paying anything. You cannot pay the rent of a studio if you work for McDonald's or these other companies.
Well, on what you just said, now think about this now. Barilla, it says Barilla became the first Latino elected to the Oregon legislature. in 1986. Could not they have had that discussion then? You understand what I'm saying? My point
Yeah,
is
well,
that, was the issue on the table then? I mean, why? Here we are, 2018.
But I believe it's different though, because I mean, he said Latino and stuff, and when you go Latino, you have to be more specific than just Latino.
Right.
You just
right.
can't be like, oh, it's a colored person. You're a colored person. Okay, you're a colored person. Like, all right, and you're just labeled. No, like you're
But these were
a black
Mexicans.
person. You're a
Right.
Mexican person.
Right.
Now, when it says Latino, he could be Chicano. He could be
Yeah.
somebody else that probably second, third generation, or probably first generation, where his struggles were not as hard as his previous brothers, or if not fathers and such.
But he was Mexican.
Exactly.
I mean, I read it the way it was.
But was he fully? But it was one thing though, because I'm Mexican, she's Mexican, he's Mexican. But again, one thing, I'm Mexican. If my example, my little brother's Mexican. He's a Mexican American, born here. And you know, he knows the struggles of us Mexicans going through and such. But he never lived through the struggle of living in Mexico. He never knew what it was, you know, when it came to corruption, when it came to working in the field, all that stuff. So when people are born here, and I'm not trying to like criticize them at all and such, it's just different scenarios they gotta consider in their mind, and they don't live it. Good thing they don't live it because their parents they don't want them to live it no more like how they did. For example, you got kids. We all here, you know, at a point we got kids. You don't want your kids to live what you live. You want them to have an easier life. But when those kids, like this person Latino, and honestly don't know the history behind them, but when it says Latino, it has to be more specific than that. Who was his
Well, he
background?
was Mexican.
No, he was Mexican. He was
No,
that's
no.
why I'm making the point. The point I'm making is that
Yeah, in
Mexicans were
1986.
actually doing the work.
Yeah.
I was there doing that, and Chavez was there, blah blah blah, and there had someone transporting this, that, and the other, and working. The point I'm making is that when that went to the legislature in '86, the discussion should have been happening then in terms
in
of how do
86.
we deal. '86.
In '86 was the last immigration reform, when they grant status, immigration status to the people working in the fields.
Right.
And that was the last immigration reform, and after that, it was pretty close in 2000 to get another round.
Oh yeah. I mean,
But
it was Reagan the first round, right?
Reagan
Yeah.
was in 86, and then this other person
In Bush.
Bush in 2000.
President Bush. Right.
And
But that was
now-
political during that time, and that would have been the time to have the discussion.
Yeah, and everything is stopped because of legal immigrants just crashed the planes in the and it wasn't Latino workers. There were legal immigrants. They were having an status. They were having visas.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm
it
saying, yeah.
nothing to do
during that
with
particular time. Yeah,
the terrorists that
yeah.
crashed the planes in the World Trade Center. So they are shaping the discussion in the way they want, and we are struggling all the time to change the
And I believe
speech.
the topic of immigration changes according to who is in power, you know, at the time,
Right.
locally and nationally, and you know, all over the world.
Yeah, President
And-
Obama has a very big struggle working pursuing the immigration status that ended in DACA because there is no response. So he uses executive power to push the DACA on.
But DACA wasn't a gift from Obama. DACA was the result, like Emmanuel was saying before, it was the result of many young immigrants.
It was the whole movement, and I like
Community,
it.
you know, going from town to town, advocating, you know, for the right to be here, right? So it wasn't a gift. It was pressure.
No, I
it
didn't
was
say.
community pressure. It was, you know, very upset young generation of immigrants that say, we are here. You cannot get rid of us like that. You have to give us something. You see, government is very smart.
They're all
Sometimes,
beneficials.
right? Because they have to give you something, one way or another,
Oh yeah.
to
but,
release the social pressure that is existing locally, you know, in the national level.
I didn't say it was a gift, but
No,
it
I'm
was a
just
recognition.
saying.
It was a recognition of the problem happened, and because of the legislator is paralyzed and is not doing anything, he pushed that. He pushed that because he was pushed by the community. So it's like a African American people too. The struggle is 200 years, and little by little, getting one gain here and one gain there, and probably a step back here and there. But keep working, keep building, and that's something that we need to work all the communities, all the minorities together, because now the political environment is crushed the communities.
You know, what I'm hearing is that we need to have a major discussion. You know, and I wanted to make sure that we at least present another side to this issue here, because the solution is going to, you know, the solution. I didn't see the solution in the bill, in terms of how it's being presented. You got me? There was racial profiling in the peace aspect of it, and then there was the procedural piece. You know, so that's another piece. You know what I'm saying? And so the key is that they need to just talk about it for what it's real. Like going back day one when they made that change, someone should have said, "Stop. Let's make sure we either make them citizens, or improve the Zero program. Make sure they got the green cards or whatever the cards is to be able to come and work." But they didn't do that. You know, people just didn't do that. They would just kind of like just cut the whole thing off. I'm just giving you, even as a layperson to a certain degree, everybody's got different deals. But that's why it's important that they hear the conversation from the culture. Because it was Mexicans at the time that was doing this stuff. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't Latinos. The Mexicans were doing the work. And then all these other entities got in. So we almost have to go back to square 186 and say, well, how did all this stuff come about? And again, I was very familiar with the Reagan administration when they gave the citizenship to just blocking citizenship at that time. That was political. And the same thing with President Bush. That was political aspect of it. And I can remember the president of Mexico coming here, and I can remember the Ted Kulingoskis and working at the Mexican embassy. I was there at one point in time, you know, and basically giving them issues. They didn't talk about basically, really getting into English. It was just, boom, just take this card, got me? And then you can go over here and get this, some food and this, that, and the other. So my point is that it's more than just what this bill is. But the fact of the matter is, what is this bill going to do if it's passed one way or the other? I did interview those folks before to check out that inventory. Again, that issue is a whole different issue. So meaning that the political part of it, as far as I'm concerned, is responsible. Because the people who are basically talking to this issue of the repeal piece, they've got a whole different mindset in terms of why they're doing what they're doing. I'm just being right up front with you. It's kind of like a racist kind of a mindset piece, and so I wanted to make sure we bring those pieces out, and maybe even consider spending a little bit more time on this. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Got me? Yeah. Even to the point, I'll be right up front. Even to the point of maybe bringing that person on and just say, okay, fine, we sit down there together. And say, okay, fine, let's talk about it. What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
Well, we know what's in their mind.
No, but I'm just saying.
They don't want us here. That's in their mind.
No, but let them say it.
Yeah,
see, it's important. We say it because that's kind of like, because we're talking about since '86. We can't do it in 25 or 30 minutes to really express it. So I'm just saying, if we can get that discussion going on, because there are political reasons there. We're not talking about politics. We're talking about human beings. You know, we're talking about a culture that has been misused way back when, and there was a process. Wherever we stopped, that we should have really talked and start solving the problem. We got to go back to that point and dot those I's and cross those T's. We got a lot of folks here, and folks can think they can get up tomorrow morning and say, okay, all of a sudden, 20 million people's getting ready. 20 million people got to go back. You see, and we're not part of those discussions. Right up front with the president now, he's made a deal with the new president of Mexico. We weren't sitting at those tables. We're in Oregon. We're in Portland, Oregon. We're all trying to survive because everybody got to eat.
Yeah, the one thing that is important to point now is that the 105 is state law, and the immigration is federal. Okay. So we need to separate these things. And we as a state, we need to push the immigration because the business owners need the workforce, and but at the state level, keep protecting our communities. And just giving up the status sanctuary is gonna crush our communities, and is gonna legalize the profiling, the racial profiling in the police.
Because
practice.
what he was saying and what you were saying, and I've been around this business for quite some time, just as from a journalistic standpoint to what I do. If you don't get the two people together to at least talk seriously, eyeball to eyeball type routine, and you got other people representing it, and you got to figure out why they're doing what they're doing, as opposed to the people who are going to be impacted. And so by getting us at the table, I'll be right up front with it. I'm saying that this thing is so important that I'll give them a call. We'll do another good hour show, and just one person, just sit around the table. Right here, make it public. We're not talking about behind the closed doors. What's on your mind? That type of thing.
I have an experience with that, but
you know what I'm saying. But my point is that good Marine will make sure that it's done right.
That's a good exercise, and at the same time, is presenting the other point of view.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure in the other side there is good people too.
Oh yeah.
People thinking that they are doing the best for the community.
Right.
But we need to talk. We need to talk.
Right.
Because we want the same.
Right. So what I was going to do, we'll go on and break it off here with the understanding that we set up another good hour.
Yeah,
or
that's
two.
fine. But I totally opposed, to support, like Eduardo was saying, there may be good people with good intentions, but you cannot have good intentions when you are trying to crush another group of human beings in your same community, because that's the butterfly effect. What happens to one person is going to reflect, it's going to affect a whole community. So they don't have good intentions.
No,
they
well,
just, they're very clear. No, that's my point of view.
The sponsors of the law, they don't have good intentions. But I'm talking about the general public,
like us. Yeah, no, exactly. No, I agree with that. But from that end, it is clear. They put it on, on paper.
Let's make an effort.
Okay.
I'll make an effort. And then as far as I'm concerned, you know how I operate anyway. I'll just block some time and we'll just have it. Because this is a very important piece.
It is.
And I've not seen too much outside of in other countries, other states. I look at a lot of news stuff, and I see this piece here, and like you were saying, I know some good people. In fact, when I interviewed the folks, it was kind of interesting, into my interview. But when you get down to the people that say, hey, look, I got to eat, I got to have a place to stay, I got to feed my kids. And then now come to the table, let's talk.
Exactly.
That's that routine, okay?
Exactly.
So we're going to go on and take this break here now, and I'll just get back to you.
All right,
and we'll just
good.
come back.
Yeah.
And it's same thing.
Yeah.
Everybody, I'll make that call.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, make it happen.
All right, folks. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. We're going to comment on the City Club gathering, Maria, and I've got Deborah Harris. She ran for county chair, and we're just going to kind of just do a little overview of the City Club thing. Okay. All right.
All right.
Okay. We'll take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, we'll let you guys go. The two of you guys go. You want to sit around for a minute?
Yep.
Okay, good.
You are watching Oregon Voters Digest. This program can be seen again on these channels on these dates and times. Tell a friend.
back. I'm back, folks. Okay, fine. As you can see, I ended the show by basically saying, okay, fine. We got a bigger issue than that, and we're going to see if we can put something together and see if we can get both sides together, which is pretty cool on this whole issue of 105. And I think that would be huge if we can do something like that, okay? So anyway, we're going to do that part, but we'll take this next 15 minutes. I went to the City Club the other day, and as you know, we've got a very historic event here in our city. We got two women who happen to be Black Americans. I say Black Americans, I don't say African Americans. But anyway, they're going to be running, two women who have been around for quite some time here in the city of Portland, and there's a seat vacant, Salzman's seat at the city of Portland. And we all know about this for the folks who are watching around this area for sure. But we thought it was the City Club had a debate kind of a deal, and there's been there are a number of other debates, and the newspapers are going to be basically they're going to have their interviews and their endorsements and this, that, and the other. But I thought it would be neat to have some folks who are very familiar with the area of the city. Bob has been around, for quite some time, and he's sitting up here. He just happened to get off the ninth green, and he's back at the table real quick. But anyway, I thought we'd bring just a quickie note. We're gonna do a little quickie deal, and then I got Deborah Harris, and she ran for county chair this last time around. She did real well. 25,000 some votes? She ran against Deborah Kafori, and that was kind of an interesting piece.
Yes.
Very interesting piece. And then you got Maria. Maria and Sharon is not here. Ordinarily, she would have been here too. But we ran. I ran also too. So the bottom line, we're very familiar with the issues. So we're going to take these few minutes, and we got about 11 minutes or so, and just go around the table and see what we think about. Now, I know we were there at the piece.
Yes.
Anyway, but basically it's the same thing. You guys don't have to worry about having been there. But the fact of the matter is, they had the debate. You can get it on, I think, the City Club aspect of it, and it's there. But I just want to get just quick comments on the deal. What do you think about the race so far? From what you know, real quick, Bob.
From what I've seen, what I've heard, it seems to be a boxing match,
Okay,
i.e., rather than a political debate.
I need to qualify that. I'm not going to ask you guys for an endorsement at this point in time, but I will be. The same group's going to come back, and you got to throw it on the line. So this way you can say what you want to say. Real quick, what's up?
Okay, it seems to be a boxing match. She said, he said, she did, he did, she did, type of situation.
What's the issue? What's the issue?
Well,
what's your major issue that they need to respond to?
They need to respond to the homeless issue.
Homeless issue.
Yes.
Okay, homeless issue.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay, well,
Harris.
what I'm looking for, I was at the City Club, and I'm looking for, and people are asking me, who should I vote for? I said, well, you need to listen to some of these forums. You want to listen to someone who has a purpose, has a passion, and who has substance. If there's no substance into what we're saying, then it's worthless. Right. And real quickly here, the elected candidate will have the challenge of being at the table that has been historically dominated by men. Now, I have no intentional nor unintentional bias here, but dominated by white men. So we need to look at a candidate who will have the courage, the tenacity, and the umption and the gumption to speak power on issues that affect the communities, all the communities of Portland. Our 5 areas. Who's got that power to be able to say, if it's something we need to disagree with, to say, no, I don't agree with that, and not be timid.
Okay, sounds good. But now, remind you, now, if one of them's going to get elected, all of a sudden it's going to be dominated by women. And what about the men then?
Right. What I'm
Are
saying,
we going to do a he too? Or are we going to? I know we got a he too. Wait a minute. Is it a he too or me too?
No,
now, wait a minute. What about? What about? I mean, and then old men too. I mean, wait a minute. I haven't even got my chance.
But technically, that table has been so dominated.
Is that what it is?
Has been so dominated by men and by white men.
Okay.
So we're still getting over that dominating factor.
Okay. All right. See how quick they are? Okay. Maria, come on, Maria. You got some time. Go on. Do your thing. What you got? What are you going to say about that?
My point of view about this race.
What's your major issue that you think they should be?
I have a lot of
concerned for the
issues.
city of Portland? I know she's right downtown too, by the way. She's very familiar with the homeless, a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it is crazy downtown Portland, but with the homeless issue.
Yes.
I will look for the most outspoken candidate and the one that is closer to the community, the one that relates more to community. I don't care if it's this election is going to be the first black woman elected.
Represent, but you want to talk about
It
representing
has
the city.
nothing. It has to do,
Right.
you know, with the fact that we want some color in
Yes,
city
yes,
council.
right,
Of
right,
course, we
right,
need
right,
color, right?
right.
But it doesn't matter, you know, who is best. You
Right,
know,
right.
who's two black women fighting, because that's a fight, right? For this seat, tells us that as society, you know, we have to work a lot harder.
Okay.
Right, because we have to be more in solidarity, and we have to communicate better so we can support, you know, a good candidate, and we don't have to divide our community, you know, because that breaks the heart sometimes. You know, you like, you know, certain aspects of one candidate, you like other aspects of this other candidate, and as women we are like, we want to be, you know, in solidarity
Now,
with women.
Let me get my last little piece real quick, right? Thinking about the City Club and looking at the interviews and whatever, I've been looking at the papers about how they're accommodating. In all due respect, I was a little concerned about the write-ups that are coming up. They're not really dealing with those issues. Majors, like boom, if you say homelessness, what is the solution? And they've got to come up with some. And I was thinking about one of the guys who's a senior reporter and anchor person at Channel 6, and 6 hasn't done anything. Right. 2 did something, I know for a fact, but 6 hasn't done. Ken Body, remember Ken? Ken's been around for years. He's gotten all kinds of achievements, and he happens to be an African American, a black American. And it would be interesting if Channel 6 did the same thing that Channel 2 is doing.
Yes.
Steve Dunn does his thing on your voice, your vote aspect of it, but 6 is like number 2. Right. And I would like to see Ken Body interview those 2 women, because he knows their background quite well, and he should know the issues, because he's kind of like the news anchor in the morning, kind of a deal. Right. But not my point. So I'm looking at some more effective interviews, so that the public can see the interview, not the behind the scene like normally we're very familiar with how the Oregonian interviewed us behind. You can see they had no background whatsoever, and they're asking you different questions, and you don't have a time to talk. And then when it comes out, it's not even what you said.
Yes, and real quickly, Bruce, we need to get over the stereotypical. So often when we have forums, we look at their, as Maria said, we're not looking at their black women. That's not the situation. Right. We're looking at who is going to best serve the community, the entire community, city of Portland.
Right. Real
quickly, you know, if I was a citizen in Portland, I'd be looking at who can bring the most to the table. I mean, serving
table like what? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about funds from outside. Who has the avenue, the know-how that's going to be able to come in and hit the ground running, as far as bringing in the funds from the federal government, getting some of our tax dollars back. Who knows where those, how to tread through that water? Who has an idea as to how to, you know, community is good, but we have entities within the city that we should be pressuring to do the proper things within the community. I don't want my city council person, you know, as my community adversary. I want them to be able to take and bring things into my community to make it better.
I got your point, but the point I'm going to make right now is that's why I went around and said which is the most important. The thing that the major concern in the city of Portland right now, people are saying one thing. I got people making tents in front of my front yard. They're throwing stuff all over the place. My kids have to play out in the yard, and there are needles out there in the yard.
They're walking naked on the street.
Naked and this, that, and the other. So the name of the game, that's priority 1.
Yes.
What are you going to do with that? When they mentioned the Wapato and this, that, and the other, but I think that's the thing we need to really hit hard. I think the money thing, that's another deal. That's the auditor. Luckily, the county has an auditor.
I think we need less bureaucracy in City Hall. Definitely, because bureaucracy is what slows down the results and the process of how we're gonna clean the city. Is bureaucracy. I know that. I work for the Mexican government, and I can see bureaucracy where it is. And you know, I'm a co-chair for the New Portland Policy Commission, and I see bureaucracy right there, right? So we need a courageous leader, and I don't care if he's black, white, Mexican, white, but we need courageous leaders that are going to say, you know what, let's clean the house.
Take a different path.
Exactly, because I am tired of being put in a box as a Latino, as a Hispanic, as a Black. You know, you have to be Democrat or you have to be Republican. That's old-fashioned. We want new air. We need change, and we're not going to get that change if we continue walking, you know, the steps of old bureaucracy.
Right.
Sorry, we need, you know, somebody that is courageous enough to say, let's clean the house.
Okay.
Taking an unconventional path.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Real quick
The
now.
one thing,
we gotta
the
go.
one thing that happened.
Homelessness. Hit homelessness.
Okay.
Don't give me anything else. Hit
Okay.
homeless. What are you gonna?
In homelessness.
What about Wheeler? Is Wheeler doing the job?
No.
Okay, good. Is Wheeler doing the job? No. Is Wheeler doing the job? Okay, good. So we got two candidates. Do you think one or both of those candidates, either one, could actually, once they seat it there, they can take the lead? Because in all due respect, we're not districtized. I mean, there are many mayors. Each one of them is mayor. They can say anything they want to say. Okay, we're saying that one of those two people could actually take the lead. Not taking it from his mayorship piece, but the bottom line, we need leadership.
We
that
need
will
people
deal
to
with
do their job.
To do their job.
Period.
Okay,
And we're not
good.
going to say thank you for doing your job. You
Yeah,
get a
yeah,
salary.
yeah.
You know, do your job. That's what we need.
Yeah. So I'm spending. That's the reason why I'm spending this homeless piece. That's really what's on the back and the mind
Right.
of people right now. Whoever can come up with that solution of leadership, like you were talking about, that's the person we're looking at. Not it should be the mayor, but it's not a mayoral deal. They're all mayors as far as I'm concerned. And
They gave away Wapato.
Yeah.
And the people that has it wants to make it a homeless shelter. Let them.
people lost
Help
$70 million left on the table. $70 million. So anyway, but we're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got that. Homelessness is key again.
Right.
Homelessness, and don't, it's
Jobs.
not taking anything away from the mayor, but he needs some help.
Right.
He needs some help, and it's going to be a women's thing. It's going to be a Me Too thing.
And he needs someone who's bold and courage enough to step up to the plate, step up to the table, and take it in an unconventional direction.
And you're saying that we're getting away from the Me Too.
To the He Too.
No,
I got it. From the He Too and She Too to the We Too.
We Too.
We Too. Oh,
We Too.
That's a
We
pretty
Too.
good deal. Okay, good. All right. Make sure you remind those folks. Okay, that's it, folks. We're going to come back again, and we'll have this little session again, but we are going to do this again, okay?
Help us on the way.
That's right. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Maria.
Thank you.
Good job. And we're going to see whether or not we can get the two people together on 105 and sit down and chat about this piece, okay?
Sounds good.
Have a good evening. Have a good day. Enjoy yourself. And don't get too involved with outside politics. Let's keep it in Oregon. Let's solve some of our issues. We got issues here in Oregon, especially specifically in the city of Portland and elsewhere in Oregon, okay? Let's work together and let's get this thing together and make sure we identify those He Toos.
We Too. We Too.
All right, good. That sounds great. I've got about another 10 seconds or so on this end of it. And please check out the YouTube aspect of it. I'm going to be having some more guests on another piece. We're going to be interviewing congressional candidates, and that'll be my next piece. Check out YouTube. Take care. Have a good one.